Well, hello there everyone. This is Mr. Steam Trains here. And today I'm going to be talking about a topic that, well, no one asked for, but you know what? I figured I might as well talk about it anyways. Because, well, I just feel like I need to say this. You see, I have a Super Nintendo, and I just wanted to let you guys know how hard it is for me to collect some Super Nintendo games that I really want to play, but I can't quite afford or I can't get my hands on. At number one on this list, we have Star Fox 2. This game is incredibly rare, unless you get a reproduction cartridge, which is still expensive, or you get an SD to SNES or EverDrive. And if you actually want a real cartridge of this game, good luck, because there were only 10 of these made. Well, legitimately. There could have been more legitimately made, but I believe it was just 10. So your best bet is to get a reproduction cartridge, but that's still expensive, or an EverDrive or SD to SNES. And if you're gonna get an SD to SNES, I'd wait for the third revision to come around if it ever does. So your best bet is really an EverDrive. Number 2 on this list is Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo. This game isn't really rare, it's just very expensive. If you find someone selling this game for a price you can actually afford, about $40, I'd say, maybe 50. I wouldn't go anywhere above 60 though, because that's just a ridiculous price for a game that old. But there are these people that are selling this game for up to $200 on selling sites like eBay, Amazon. It's very hard to find one of these games for an affordable price. Mario RPG is a great game, but I don't think it's great enough to cost that much money. Now, this is a top 5 or top 10 list, depending on how many I can think of. Chrono Trigger is next. It's one of the rarest games on the Super Nintendo, according to my friend. I don't know how much that's true or not, but yeah. It's very expensive and it's basically rare. Earthbound is next. It's not very rare, but they didn't sell that many because of the poor marketing. They didn't sell a lot of them because of poor marketing. The ad campaign for this game is, "Wow, this stinks." And I'm guessing you can guess what happened next. The kids read their Nintendo Power, and as soon as they saw that this game sucked, they were like, "I'm not buying that." Anyways, the next on our list is, let's see here. Hmm. I don't know. I'm thinking. Oh yeah, Final Fantasy 7, I believe? No, not 7. I know it's one of the Final Fantasies. It's really rare on the Super Nintendo. I believe it's 7. Possibly 4, 5? I don't remember. I would have to ask my friend to bring his SNES Classic system here. Because I don't have this game. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, one of the most common games to the Super Nintendo is Super Mario World. One of the most infamous games is Doom on the Super Nintendo. This is kind of like an honorable mentions thing. Now there are going to be a couple more, and then I'm gonna be done here because I don't know any more that are really rare. I know that the Japanese sequels on the Super Famicom are pretty rare. Like the sequels to Link to the Past that are actually on cartridges, they did come over to America, but only for a limited time And yeah, they are very expensive. There are 3 Link to the Past sequels. These 3 are basically kind of the same amount of rarity as, well, there's 3 sequels. If you didn't know that there was any sequels to Link to the Past, I'm sorry. These games are worth playing, but only if you can buy them for an affordable price. Your best bet is to get a Japanese copy and either rip out the copy protection tabs in your Super Nintendo. You can look up a video how to do that. Well, I'll just show you, actually, with a cartridge, because mine doesn't have the tabs ripped out. You see? Oh, wait, that's not a good... Oh, wait, yes it is. You see, this thing, this is just an example. These 2 holes are where the slots in the American SNES go in. If you clip these, then you can basically just put in a Japanese cartridge as well. So you can do that, but yeah, it's better than buying a Japanese system just to play a couple of Japanese games if you already have a whole bunch of American Super Nintendo games, like I do. Another game that's kind of rare, I think, because I can't really find it anywhere. It's Wings. It's literally called Wings. It's for the Super Nintendo and it's a flight simulator, like Pilot Wings, but it's literally just called Wings of something, I believe. Now, on the little more obscure side, we have a Super Nintendo cartridge that was ported to the Super Nintendo in America and on a Game Boy cartridge, Space Invaders. This one is kind of rare, but not really, as you can get the Game Boy version and have the Super Nintendo version, or you can get the Super Nintendo version and have the Super Nintendo version. I hope that makes sense. Now, I'm going to be talking about a couple of NES games, because there is an adapter now that you can play NES games on your SNES, so I kind of have to talk about that as well. There aren't that many rare games for the NES, are there? Well, except for a few that I can't really talk about because they're dating simulators. Anyways, back to the Super Nintendo. We have Earthbound 2 and 3. These games are really rare, especially 3. Although you can get these games on Game Boy Advance cartridges, they're probably bootlegs. But you can do it. Yeah. Okay. What else is there? Well, Mario Paint isn't rare. It's just kind of a little bit hard to play, depending on how expensive the Super NES, the SNES mouse is at the time. You see, the SNES mouse goes up and down in price, and so it's more rare or less rare depending on how much it costs. I fortunately got mine for about $15, so it wasn't that expensive. And it came with the mouse board as well, so that was nice. I did not expect it to come with the mouse board, but the person did send it, so that was nice. And I bet you're wondering why my Super Nintendo hasn't yellowed yet. I believe they replaced the plastic when they restored it. Okay, what else is there? I'm usually really good at this. I can talk about Super Nintendo, GameCube. I can just talk about it all day, but I don't know. There's also a SNES adapter for the N64. I believe it's called the TriStar 64. If not, then I'm sorry. It can play NES, SNES, and of course N64 games, because you see the thing is so big that it covers up the entire console, and it can also cover up the N64 slot. So yeah, you're gonna need that if you wanna. It also has built-in NES games, which you didn't buy it for probably. There's a lot of knockoff cartridges on the Game Boy Advance. There's one for Game Gear and Sega Master System games. There's the NES one that I've looked at, but I don't know if that's actually a bootleg or not. There is a blue version of that cartridge, not the red version. That is definitely a bootleg. It has like 360 games on it, and most of them are repeats. But the few that aren't, the ones that aren't repeat are definitely hilarious. Now, I just recommend picking that cartridge up for the laughs. The Game Gear and Sega Master System games on the Game Boy Advance is in another blue cartridge, I believe. Possibly green. I don't know. It's been a while since I looked that up. But anyways, yeah, that's definitely worth it. But there isn't really a Super Nintendo cartridge, with a whole bunch of Super Nintendo games. F-Zero is common, but yeah, it's not very rare. Oh, what else is there? The Super Game Boy is kind of rare, but not really. They're kind of common as well. Now, there is an adapter for the SNES that allows you to play Super Famicom games on it, but you don't need that. You can just tear out the pins that I was talking about earlier because they're made of plastic. Mario is Missing and Mario's Time Machine and the other educational games are kind of rare because so many people are buying them because of, well, of how infamous they are. Star Fox is kind of rare, but it's pretty common. You can get it for about $20, I believe. But you don't need any of that. You can just get an EverDrive if you can afford it. If you can't, then I suggest buying just regular cartridges. I'm trying to line up my SNES. I'm a weird person, okay? I like my things lined up sometimes. Like the GameCube, how it's a cube. I'm like, oh god, it's not even with the thing. I don't adjust it all the time. It's just that when it's pulling on the controller cords in a way that I can't reach the couch or the chair I'm sitting on, it's just eh. Now I do know that there is wireless controllers to these things. You can use any controller practically, but I don't have the wireless connectors. I really wish I did. That would be awesome. Of course, you could use the Wiimote nunchuck and the Wiimote, and you could control your SNES. But I don't need any of that. I would rather just have the Wii U Pro controller. That's one of the only controllers I have that isn't like that can actually play the SNES. I don't have that. I mean, there's the Xbox 360 controllers, and I do have a Xbox One controller, but it's a corded one, and it's for my computer. I usually play. I don't usually play it with much. Anyways, that's about it. There's gonna be a part two once I figure out what else I want to include. And if I don't want to include anything else, there isn't gonna be a part two.